Hello, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Submitted for Your Approval, the weekly card review show where we're doing something different this time. There were a lot of big announcements and a lot of sort of discussions to be had with the various members of the committee that I used to be a part of, and we wanted to talk to you about I'm not doing much, I'm just hosting this silly little show, are doing for Collective. So yeah, doing a special this week. Sorry, we'll get back to our regular programming next week unless we end up canceling for whatever reason. So first, my faithful co-host, head moderator of the Collective Discord, and leader of the monetization team, Grief. Say hi, Grief.
Howdy, folks, and I'm already regretting this episode.
Okay. Where would we all be without Mystic, the current manager of Collective, the leader of the committee, etc., etc.
Hi, everyone.
Okay. We have Vmnunes, who is head balance team and also host of a lot of the different art competitions we've been doing lately, along with Korn.
Hello, folks. And
last but certainly not least, we have the de facto third panelist for a lot of Submitted for Your Approval episodes past, Wujek Marion, for single player and Coliseum content.
Brother in Christ, I have not been on Submitted in like 2 months.
Yeah, but I think you have like the most guest panelist credits of anyone.
Yeah, hi.
Okay, doke. So I'll head straight into it. I believe, Grief, did you want to start talking about sort of what you were hoping to get out of this little special episode?
Basically, we have just recently announced our plans, or some of the plans we have for our upcoming big update, Collective 2.0, that we've been planning for at least a month in advance, where it's about rotation, about the core set update, about the gameplay updates, and so on and so forth. And yeah, we answered some questions in general chat on that day, as well as highlighting our vision, or at least displaying our vision moving forward, what we have in plan for what our plans are. But to summarize it, even for people who aren't really really keen on just scrolling back in general chat history and finding our answers, here again, a short little round of a Q&A session with the committee members.
Sounds great. So I guess I'll start with Mystic, and I kind of wanted to ask you, what were the major concerns you saw for the game, and sort of what led you to sort of make that lead into these changes that everyone else is going to talk about?
So with the changes in particular, we've been looking at the game for a while now, and there's been a lot of repeatedly really toxic metas that people talk about. I know there was a time where it was basically all action spam. That was a while back now. Now there's other metas, and every single meta, it seemed to have a consistent pattern of more or less cards get in the game, then people play with those cards, but the units tend to either once you hit 8 mana, you can just drop a unit and it wins you the game because it has to have those kinds of abilities, or units just don't exist because there's enough removal in the game that you can just remove all the units before they can do anything. So for a unit to really have impact, it needs to exist in a way where if it sticks around, it has enough impact to make up for the fact that units are so easy to remove.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I guess the next question will go for Grief, talking specifically about the big mechanical changes coming to Collective. I know you went through the big effort of getting those tests implemented through the card, through the test card, and you guys have been playing around with that in the single player tournaments. So I guess with so can you talk about sort of the process you guys went through coming up with that list of changes and how you feel they'll work out for Collective's future?
First of all, just to set things right, I'm not taking the credit for this. It's like basically these three individuals came up with this idea first. I was just there to say, basically, yeah, please don't use this card and introduce this pet card. But yeah, no, jokes aside, basically this has been on our minds for a long while and was pointed out occasionally in committee chat since like February. Wujek, correct me if I'm wrong, because we've been technically pointing at it for a while now.
Oh, as far as like the discussion about the game system and why having units until ready would help the game experience, I would say those discussions went on even before the committee's existence, honestly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they only
Yeah.
really started being like actually discussed like as an actual thing that maybe we can like can happen, should happen more recently. But yeah, it's always been sort of a
Yeah.
talk for a long time before. The main like reasons. Oh, sorry if I'm interrupting you, Grief.
No, just go on. Because as I said, it's basically
One of
was
them-
more on your shoulders.
One of the main reasons why we believe that these changes will help like smooth out the whole gameplay as well as the possible meta games is because currently we on our system the units people always say they have to live through 2 turns of removal if they don't have any immediate impact, which yeah, all units have to live through that. But when you stop to look at it, the amount of like mana that the opponent has like available to answer a unit, it is like exponentially higher than the unit's mana cost. And the higher that the unit's cost goes, it also goes up. Like for example, which was the what was written in the announcement, I believe. 4 mana unit, if it does not have any immediate impact, it has to live through effectively 9 mana worth of potential answers. And like a 5 mana unit has to live through 11 mana worth of potential answers, which is quite a lot. And the main reason for the absolutely exponential power curve that we have currently in Collective with units, which is an issue in of itself because this means that all sorts of ramp effects, like instant mana gain such as Attune or Pearlmouse doubloons, or just max mana gain, they become really powerful because like a 5 mana unit tends to be much more powerful than a 4 mana unit. And this can lead to games being decided basically how early can you drop the big unit. Making it so the units, everything is going to have some sort of immediate impact as they enter play ready, will have to be done alongside an adjustment in the curve in general, in the power curve, so that it is far less exponential, which is also the reason why we wanted to do this like harder rotation, this hard reset, because for the system changes to work, like for them to have the intended impact, we do need to tone down the power curve a lot.
And I know speaking of rotations, one of the big concerns that I'm sure was definitely on my mind and on a lot of players' mind was that in order to push for all these new important mechanical changes, we are going to, you guys have said you're going to be rotating out a big batch of cards all at once and sort of starting fresh with a new core set. One thing I do commend you guys for is that you guys are hoping to also give us, to make up for that, some sort of internal legacy support. Who wants to talk about that? Grief, you want to handle that, or?
Oh yeah, that is actually my expertise. Yeah, in terms of actually having to implement a full reset of the card pool and setting up the core set, there are is one important thing that has to happen, and that's the legacy queue. We're currently looking into the feasibility of implementing it with a ban list, because legacy has one problem. It's kind of the Wild West, and shit just breaks. About the problem, but it actually has to be there, because when we're full rotating out every damn archetype people have worked up to till now, just to modernize and standardize the power level and move from there, cards have to go somewhere and have to be playable. The question for legacy queue has come up usually because people just come back from a long hiatus. We have returning players who haven't touched the game for 2 years and asking, okay, what's the state of the game? Can I play archetype X? Can I play with Hive Mind Queen? Can I play with what was the Dralogs? Are Dralogs still in the game? No, they have been rotated out for like 2 years now. Sorry, this is our standard. And besides those questions, most people usually didn't really care about legacy. Now that we are doing the rotation, we have to do a legacy queue. And now the question is, okay, what's the power level with legacy? What cards break in terms of legacy? What do we have to update? Can we run that up? Can we do a ban list for that? And if so, we want to actually have it like a format deck building ban list already integrated in your deck builder, where you just select the legacy tab and rename and keep the tag for single player. So if you're going for single player, you can use every card. But if you're picking legacy queue, you're basically only picking from the cards that you can build for a deck that is legal on legacy. How well transparent the deck list is in the game, how the UI for that looks like, that's still being worked on and looked at. And sorry, I can't give more information on that, because as I said, we have to actually work out the feasibility of that. But if that infrastructure is in place, that opens up a lot of new avenues to move forward for that, because people already mentioned stuff like, oh yeah, and are we doing modern for the last 3 months and so on and so forth? What about implementing cubes and stuff like that? If we can figure it out how to do it with legacy queue, maybe in the future. That's just a very, 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 very large maybe.
So when we're talking about adding new features to the game, I think it's kind of only natural to sort of pivot the discussion a little bit to removed or no longer supported features that could maybe use some attention. Any chance of us maybe seeing Astro Gauntlet come back?
It is on the Patreon.
So talk a little bit about the Patreon, talk a little bit about how we might see AG come back.
Thing is, since I'm head of monetization, my main topic is usually, okay, if we can get actually the coding hours paid for that, we can probably implement that. The problem is more, it has to be looked at, even if the Patreon goals would be reached. It still needs time to be implemented, meaning that even if we reach a goal like the hero with when it was way back when with Fortuno, when we looked at designing hero, we basically looked at the concept of the Fortuno hero already stood a month or 2 after. The longest time that it took was actually the coding time. And then we even found some hurdles on the way, meaning that even if we reach a specific goal, we don't know if it can be correctly implemented. I'm probably pushing that question more back to Vmnunes again, because he's closer to our coder, and he has probably better answers for that. Because as I said, when it's actually a Patreon goal, we try to at least implement it in the best way possible. The full return of Astro Gauntlet or the implementation of like custom cards in single player has always been a question. And as I said, we need more or less the finances to at least focus on that. So because the Patreon is less of a to-do list, but more as a focus list. Okay, we've reached that goal. Now, after we've fully focused on the new rotation and the new hero and so on and so forth, this is the next milestone we're working on. It doesn't mean that's implemented next month.
Yeah, okay.
So going off from Grief's comment, then specifically talking about Astral Gauntlet, I do not believe it would be too difficult to re-implement, because as it was a thing in the past, it would be just a matter of getting the old version of the code and re-implementing it into the current system. Because thankfully, we still do have like the entire backlog of code and changes since Collective's first inception in 2019, I think. Is it 19 or 17? I think 2017. Yeah. So it's just a matter of finding the code, like finding that, going through the backlog, finding the Astral Gauntlet code, re-implementing it, and making sure it works.
Okay. Yeah, it would be nice to see that back. So if any of you guys are interested and have some, spare pocket change, I mean, a lot of people who play Collective are young. If you got some allowance money, maybe
Please give us your milk money.
So yeah, now I'd also like to talk. This is of course got some really great attention as of late, and is what is nearest and dearest to my heart. And so I figured I would pivot the discussion to single player, particularly Coliseum modes and the other stuff. Any cool news you could tell us about sort of where that's sitting, Wujek?
So we are actually, first of all, a update to Coliseum, like a major one, is in the works. I actually have a few bosses done already. There was like a break that I've had to take a week ago because I caught the Rona, and that was lots of fun.
Glad to see you've recovered.
But yeah, I'm back to working on it. We'll probably work on it even today a little bit. And second of all, we are planning a future Coliseum boss design competition. In the same vein as the art competitions, like the card back and skin one, where people will be able to submit their own bosses, and the ones with the most votes will get into the game, or most positive ratios. Depends how we organize. Still, kind of in the works.
Cool stuff. No, I definitely think that that's super interesting. I know we don't have, I think Bonk is in charge now, but anything on sort of the progress of like fixing, rearranging Sentinels?
As far as I know, Bonk is almost done with getting the Act 1 per se bosses fixed or like reworked, where I think there's 9 total. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyone here?
Yeah, it's 9.
Okay, yeah, it is 9. I think there's like 1 missing, and they're working on it right now. And I know they also will be looking into events soon, as there's a lot of events in Sentinels that are currently bugged to some extent, like being able to give difficulty cards the super permanent that removes them from the deck, for example.
Yeah.
And yeah, those things are being looked into. And
I think he's specifically looking into the rarity affecting them, wasn't it?
that too, yes. That's in regards to a different bug with Sentinels, though. That's in the regards to the bug where cards appear in the collection after the game.
Oh yeah.
He's speculating that may be because some of the cards in Sentinels have rarities, and want to see like maybe changes that would fix it. But that is a bug that we would also have to dedicate coding hours into, because it will still happen with Commune, sadly.
Yeah, nothing you can really do on that front. Okay, so there's being progress made on working out the kinks in that and sort of getting this to happen. Thank you for the status update on that. I'm sure there are plenty of people who are into the single player who'd be glad to hear all that. Do we have anything fun to say about upcoming contests? Just like Grief was talking about, so people don't have to scroll all the way up through the announcements? Or do you have anything planned in the future?
We do have something coming. It's not specifically for contests, but the final hero reworks, with the exception of Kyung Mi, because we all know how difficult she is to work with. But the Dots and the Bird Doctors reworks, they are in the testing stage. They have been coded. They are being tested for bugs and stuff. And they should be releasing, hopefully this month still, alongside Vigilant as a keyword, because the Bird Doctor rework are going to be using Vigilant.
Ooh, cool stuff.
As well as a few other smaller changes. There are buffs to Heldim and Permal coming. Speaking of Permal, we also wanted to, once the system rework is done, potentially try to bring her passive back to what it used to be, where she gains the balloons from the start again.
Cool.
Yes,
I know this is
if
sort
I
of a
may just
minor.
elaborate on
Okay.
the perma in particular, because that is a specific case of, because I already know that people are gonna be shocked by that. Perma is so broken beforehand. The thing is that Perma's power level is very much directly proportional to how strong of cards can she ramp into. And we're hoping that this new system where more expensive units don't have to, well, be balanced around living through like 17 mana worth of removal before acting, it would maybe allow for both weaker top ends, but also stronger answers to those top ends.
Yeah, makes
to be
sense.
limited. And because of that, it may be worth experimenting with promo back to our old self.
That would be cool. I'm sure there's plenty of promo players who would be excited about that. That sounds cool. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not one of you committee folks anymore. So of course, since I am a fan, I have always got to try at least to plead for those juicy bits of secret intel that I used to be privy to. Any interesting new, perhaps teasers or information for the new hero you guys have been on the works with?
Well, should we at least hint a bit?
What can I say other than there will probably be blood, and a lot of it.
Okay.
There are some things that just by looking at the roster you can predict, like, strength.
Probably strength,
Missing
yeah.
a hero.
Okay.
It is also going to be a character from a player realm.
This
Get
is the
what?
last one.
Well, I didn't hear what you said.
It's going to be a character from a realm, from an already existing realm.
That's good. I do like the realmed characters thing. That I think was a big thing. It lets the players who, are realm admins or just are invested in realms feel like they have a little bit more ownership over the game, and so that's really cool. Has the respective realm admin already been notified? No, I'm just messing with you guys. So I feel I have gotten to hear a lot of really, really cool things today. Did anyone else have any other sort of things you wanted to announce or discuss for the sake of this thing? Anything coming to mind?
What did we have covered? We've covered the rotation and the plans, why we actually did it, the new system, teased the heroes, said something about the Sentinels updates, Coliseum,
New color contests.
new color contest, the in-game reward rework.
Something that I would like to, because it was announced, but I would like to remind the player base about the core set for the next few months, leading into the changes to the system. We are still taking suggestions and changes for the core set, as well as cards that get in during the next few months. They are valid suggestions for the core set. So if you feel that it might be lacking one particular thing, you could design a card to fill in that niche.
And a little question about that. So what sort of cards do you feel that the current core set has covered really well, and which ones do you feel that it's maybe lacking a little
One
So
of the
far,
current
yeah.
one of the current things that we noticed with at least in the internal testings for the core set is that we do need to do a few adjustments to a few specific card pools, mainly the spirit one. And in addition, there is also the thing where we do have tribal heroes, we have the bird doctors. We probably need to expand the tribal packages a little bit to give them a little bit of something.
I have some people who would like to make you an offer you can't refuse on that. Couple fellas from down in Anamastra. Oh. No.
Get cards in first.
No,
mean-
we hit 10.
That
Anamastra
is true.
is age 1.
That is actually true. I forgot that last week we got like 4 cards, didn't we?
Yeah,
Couple
it's
weeks ago.
picking up steam.
Mhm.
I want people to just do cats or rabbits or dogs or something. I mean, I like mob. I built the house. The house is my baby. But I want people to, like, make a new faction, come up with another cool idea. I tried to get cats in, it didn't work. I got some really good cat arts from Dolly.
Just one recommendation. If you this is for everyone, if you're designing something specifically for the core set, one, if possible, keep it simple, and two, also think of it as something where the player base can later expand upon.
Exactly. The core set is a good tool to actually ground our power level, but also give design seeds to build upon. Usually that's a very important aspect that people forget, especially in the confines of collective. Your card can be, everyone wants their me card in, but your me card should A, be balanced against other cards, and B, maybe allow people to see it. Oh, well, that's a cool one. I want to build around that or build off of that, designing more cards. Because cards in the core set should excite you also well to improve or expand the archetype. That's why general archetype coverage for all affinities should also be a given. So we don't end up with, oh yeah, mind is just burn, strength is just pain. What does spirit not do? Basically.
Oh, and I know you guys did mention doing an official implementation for for the vigilance keyword. And I know I'm probably just going to get just a flat no here, but I might be surprised. Has there been any thoughts about officializing the implementation of any of the other player created keywords and adding them to the keyword pool?
Right now, as long as we don't run into any unexpected issues, it seems that the implementation of new keywords is relatively simple. So if that really is the case and there are no like unforeseen issues with the implementation, I think it's probable, yeah. Maybe we might be able to fit in some of the other keywords alongside other changes along the way, because right now the main focus is going to be on making sure the new system works correctly, like there are no bugs.
Of course, bugs is going to be, QA is going to be the first priority here. So I think that's it for me, unless you guys had anything else.
Actually, nothing for me. Besides, if people want to know stuff about upcoming cosmetics or something like that, but that's it.
You have any announcements regarding cosmetics, or?
Besides that the new season pass is about to come out, and we're probably changing the system again. To account for people.
What's the change?
Didn't we already mention that in the episode today?
I don't think we did. No.
I don't think you publicly announced it yet. No.
Oh.
No, not with that.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Okay. The general complaint was like players need to kind of. The initial problem with the first season pass was it's 3 months long. When you're starting it late, you cannot complete it because it also disincentivizes actually playing the game and so on and so forth. The old system had many flaws. That's why we changed actually to a monthly system for shorter season pass with that costs you less money, but actually rewards you more than the older one. But the problem with that one was that you kind of had to grind daily. It was actually harder to get progression just on single player modes alone, like in the past. And as long as you don't actually actively participate in collective, you don't really complete the season pass, which doesn't sound bad on one end. On the other, if you buy it too late, same problem, you cannot complete it. So the idea was actually to make it to actually start with a new season pass with a new season pass for next month at the first, because we've delayed the old season pass cycle so often that a season pass that was meant to come out on the 15th ends up on the 25th. So we're starting fresh with the October one, being basically the last 1 month season pass, with the next season pass being a 2-month season pass. With price adjustment and more and looking at the adjustments, yeah, that's what I said. I think the reward to in-game rewards, with adjustments to how the rewards in-game, or how rewards are in-game paid out to you. So because we heard some complaints about progression and prices for cards and cosmetics and stuff like that, instead of readjusting the gold prices and amp prices and the correlating moral prices again, maybe looking at how do actually the reward systems look like. How much progression do you have to get from your season pass quests? All quests should be actually set to 1K and stuff like that. What amount of gold and amber are you actually getting out of the Coliseum and the Sentinel and out of multiplayer modes, and so on and so forth? So to actually cover the in-game economy correctly, so people don't have to slog through an early progression and basically sit on a gold pile at the end and nothing to do with it.
Okay. So yeah, we'll keep our eye out for those changes. I think we're good. Everyone else, Mystic, you've been quiet. You good?
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks for watching so far. Like, comment, and subscribe. Remind me why we keep doing this. And keep on playing collective and keep on voting on cards. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.